Welcome to an English language lesson. This lesson is for Form 4 and we are doing Unit 2. The topic is Ready for Anything and the textbook is Full Blast Plus 4. Before we begin, let's look at the learning standards. There are main skills and also complementary skills. So main skills, listening 1.1.1, understand independently the main ideas in extended text on a wide range of familiar topics. And then we have reading 3.1.1, understand the main points in extended text on a wide range of familiar topics. And writing 4.2.3, produce an extended plan or draft and modify this appropriately in response to feedback or independently. And then the complementary skills. We have speaking 2.1.1, explain simple content on familiar topics from what they read and hear. Speaking 2.1.4, explain and justify own point of view. And then writing 4.2.2, spell written work on a range of text types with reasonable accuracy. Let's look at our introduction. So when you look at these pictures, there is a picture of a man and then you can see some images or pictures of book covers. So who do you think this person is?
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was born the third of 10 siblings on May 22, 1859 in Edinburgh, Scotland. His father, Charles Altamont Doyle, a talented illustrator, was born in England of Irish descent, and his mother, born Mary Foley, was Irish. They were married in 1855. At the age of 9 Conan Doyle was sent to the Roman Catholic Jesuit Preparatory School, Hodder Place, Stonyhurst. He then went on to Stonyhurst College, leaving in 1875. From 1876 to 1881, he studied medicine at the University of Edinburgh. This required that he provide periodic medical assistance in the towns of Aston, now a district of Birmingham, and Sheffield. While studying, Conan Doyle began writing short stories. His first published story appeared in Chambers's Edinburgh Journal before he was 20. Following his graduation, he was employed as a ship's doctor on the SS Mayumba during a voyage to the West African coast. He completed his doctorate on the subject of Tabs dorsalis in 1885. In 1885, Conan Doyle married Louisa, or Louise, Hawkins, known as Tui. She suffered from tuberculosis and died on July 4, 1906. The following year, he married Jean Elizabeth Lecky, whom he had first met and fallen in love with in 1897. Conan Doyle fathered 5 children. 2 with his first wife Mary Louise, January 28, 1889 to June 12, 1976, and Arthur Aline Kingsley, known as Kingsley, November 15, 1892 to October 28, 1918. With his second wife he had 3 children: Dennis Percy Stewart, March Sherlock Holmes novels and story collections. A Study in Scarlet, 1887. The Sign of Four, 1890. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, 1892. The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, 1893. The Hound of the Baskerville.
After the introduction, let's begin our first lesson, which is reading. So here you are going to, if you are in class, you can do the discussion. So there are a few questions here. Do you enjoy detective stories? What do you know about Sherlock Holmes? Have you ever read a book or seen a film with Sherlock Holmes? And then now look at the picture. Who do you think the people are and what do you think is happening? Read the extract from a Sherlock Holmes story and find out.
To B. Read. B. Look at the picture. Who do you think the people are and what do you think is happening? Read the extract from a Sherlock Holmes story and find out. The Adventure of the Mazarin Stone by Arthur Conan Doyle. Chapter 1. It was pleasant for Watson to find himself once more in the untidy room of the first floor in Baker Street, which had been the starting point of so many remarkable adventures. He looked around him at the scientific charts, the bench of chemicals, and the violin case leaning in the corner. Finally, his eyes met the smiling face of Billy, the great detective's young servant.
Hello, Billy. I was visiting a friend nearby when I decided to come and see Holmes. Is he in?
Billy glanced at the closed door of the bedroom.
I think he's in bed and asleep,
he said. It was 7 in the evening of a lovely summer's day, but Watson was sufficiently familiar with the irregularity of his old friend's hours to feel no surprise at the idea.
That means a case, I suppose.
Yes, sir. He spent the day following someone. Yesterday he went out dressed as a workman looking for a job. Today he was an old woman.
Watson frowned.
But what is it all about, Billy?
Billy lowered his voice.
I don't mind telling you, sir, but keep it to yourself. It's this case of the Crown Diamond.
You mean the £100,000 burglary?
Yes, sir. They must get it back, sir. We had the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary both sitting on that sofa over there. Mr. Holmes was very nice to them. He soon put them at their ease and promised he would do all he could.
While Billy was talking, Watson turned to look at the window.
I say, Billy, what is that curtain for across the window?
Mr. Holmes put it up there 3 days ago. We've got something funny behind it.
As soon as Billy pulled back the curtain, Watson gasped in amazement. Between the window and the curtain was a wax figure of Sherlock Holmes sitting in a chair. The face was turned towards the window and downward, as if reading a book.
We put it at different angles so that it may seem more lifelike,
Billy explained as he was rearranging the head.
I wouldn't dare touch it if the blinds were not shut. You see, there are people who watch us from over there. Have a look for yourself.
said Billy as he opened the blinds. Suddenly, Holmes emerged from his bedroom and shut them.
That will do, Billy,
He said.
You were in danger of your life, boy. It's good to see you again, Watson. You've come at a critical moment. So I gather,
Said Watson.
I'm expecting something this evening.
Said Holmes.
Expecting what?
Holmes paused for a moment.
To be murdered, Watson.
He said.
Now you can read the text again and answer the questions. Choose A, B or C. Let's look at number 1. What did the first floor room in Baker Street remind Watson of? So A, you have how untidy Holmes was. B, the many adventures he had been on with Holmes. And C, some equipment that they had used in the case. Number 2, what was Watson's reaction to Holmes being asleep? A, he was surprised because it was early in the evening. B, he was used to Holmes sleeping at strange times in the day. C, he wanted to wake him up and discuss the case. Now for number 3, what did Holmes promise the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary? A, that he would find £100,000. B, that he would not tell anyone about the case. C, that he would find the stolen diamond. Number 4, why does Billy open the blinds? A, to allow Watson to see the wax figure better. B, to show Watson something. C, to let some people see the wax figure of Holmes. Number 5, what does Holmes believe? A, that the blinds should be shut at all times. B, that Billy will be murdered. C, that the wax figure will be attacked. So let's look at the answers. The answers for number 1 is B. Number 2 is also B. Number 3 is C. Number 4 is B. And number 5, C. Now we're going to move on to the next task, which is reading task D. Look at the highlighted words in the text and try to guess what they mean. Then match them with the meanings 1 to 8 below. So you have the highlighted words here in blue: remarkable, glance, case, guess, lifelike, critical, pause, and murdered. So let's look at the answers for number 1. Looking extremely like a real person or thing. So the answer is lifelike. Serious, very important. The answer is critical. Kill someone on purpose. So this is murdered. Incredible or extraordinary. Remarkable. Something investigated by the police. So this is a case. Look quickly. Glance. Make a short stop before continuing. So this is paused. And then take a quick deep breath, especially when surprised. So answer is gasp. Now look at D. Discuss what you did learn about Sherlock Holmes from the extract. Would you like to read the rest of the book? What do you think will happen? For the next lesson, we're going to do grammar. And then there are 2 items here: past simple and past continuous. So let's look at the 2 sample sentences. While the detective was looking around the room, he noticed a footprint on the carpet. We were driving down Phrasal Street when the police stopped us. Okay, so these are 2 sentences. Was looking is past continuous. Noticed, past simple. Were driving is past continuous, and stopped is past simple. So now let's look at the rules. For past simple, we use past simple for actions that started and were completed at a specific time in the past. Example, I went out with Jim yesterday. So yesterday here indicates that it's in the past. Number 2, for habitual or repeated actions in the past. Mary often went fishing with her dad when she was a child. So, went is for past simple. And then, it is a repeated action because when she was a child and the word often. Number 3, for completed actions that happened one after the other in the past. He opened the door, got in quietly, and turned on the lights. So there are 3 actions here that happened one after the other. Opened, got in, and turned on. And lastly, for permanent situations in the past. I lived in London for 20 years. So the past simple is lived. Let's look at the time expressions. Yesterday, in 1980, and others. 2 hours ago, 5 years ago, and others. Last night, last week, last Sunday, last March, then the day before yesterday. So these are time expressions for the past. Note, for a list of irregular verbs, you can look at page 169 of your textbook. Dear pupils, this is the list of irregular verbs on page 169. Now let's look at past continuous. For past continuous, we use the past continuous for actions that were happening at a specific point of time in the past. So the actions were happening at a specific point. For example, Karen was cooking dinner at 6 o'clock yesterday evening. So at 6 o'clock, Karen was cooking dinner. So past continuous is was cooking. Number 2, to set the scene in a story. It was early in the evening and it was raining heavily. So was raining is past continuous. Number 3, for actions that were happening at the same time in the past, in this case, we usually use while. While I was doing the washing up, my brother was vacuuming. So these are actions that were happening at the same time. Doing, was doing, and also was vacuuming. Now let's look at the third, past simple and past continuous time clauses. So time clauses would be when, while, as, or as soon as. So we use the past continuous and the past simple in the same sentence when one action interrupted another in the past. We use the past continuous for the longer action and the past simple for the shorter action. In this case, we usually use while, when, or as. So let's look at the example. As, while, or when they were walking in the forest, they saw a bear. So the longer action will be walking, and then the shorter action will be saw a bear. Number 2, I was having a bath when the lights went out. So the long action is was having a bath, and the short action is the lights went out. Let's look at the note. We use as soon as with the past simple. Example, as soon as we arrive on the island, we ran to the beach. Dear pupils, now let's complete the grammar exercise. So complete using the simple past or the past continuous of the verbs in brackets. Let's look at the passage here. Last summer, my friend Tom and I, so in bracket B, in Kuala Lumpur. So the answer is were, because there are 2, Tom and I, so were. Okay, on our last evening there, we decide to visit the Petronas Towers, but before going there, we go to the Central Market to buy some souvenirs. So for decide, the past tense is, or the past simple is decided. And then for go, you have to write went. Okay, number 4, we see lots of beautiful things as we walked around. So 4 is saw for past simple, and 5 will be walked with ed. Tom buy some beautiful gold earrings for his sister, which he put in his backpack, and then we leave. So for number 6 will be bought for past simple, and 7 put. 8 will be left. Next for number 9, it was a nice evening, so we choose to walk through the park to get to the Petronas Towers. So past tense for choose is chose. After a while, I want to sit down for a bit. So I wanted. 11, while we sit, we 12 see a monkey. So because of while, you must put present past continuous. So while we were sitting. So this is past continuous. While we were sitting, we past simple we saw a monkey. We not go near it, and we stay where we were. So we did not go near it, and we stayed where we were. Okay, let's continue. The monkey 15 leave. At least that is what we think. The monkey left. At least that is what we past simple for thing is thought. Suddenly, while we talk, Tom see that the monkey hold his sister's earring. So the answer will be while, because of while it is past continuous. So while we were talking, Tom saw that the monkey, so what was the monkey doing at the moment? Was holding. So this is past continuous. Was holding his sister's earring. Luckily, when Tom stand up, the monkey dropped the earrings and run away. Okay, so 20 will be when Tom stood up. The monkey dropped the earrings and ran away. Dear pupils, now we are going to move on to the next part of the lesson, which is vocabulary. Complete the blanks with the words or phrases in the box to form phrasal verbs or expressions with keep. So we are going to do phrasal verbs. So the first one, there are a few words here or phrases. Company, on, in mind, to yourself, still, fingers crossed, promise, up with, and eye on. So let's look at the first sentence. Yesterday we stayed at my grandmother's house and kept her. So kept her, this is a phrasal verb or expression with the word keep. So kept her, answer will be company. Number 2, hey you, keep the grass. You are not allowed to play football here. So keep off the grass. Okay, number 3, stop walking so fast. I can't keep up with you. So number 4, Jack, keep an eye on the kids while I go shopping, will you? Number 5, don't jump around, keep still for a minute. I want to take your picture. Number 6, I think we are going to win this game. Keep your fingers crossed. Number 7, keep in mind that the train leaves at 4. Don't be late. Number 8, Tina said she wouldn't lie to me again, but she failed to keep her promise. Number 9, please keep this information to yourself. It's top secret. Number 10, if you keep on eating like that, you'll gain weight. Now let's look at the phrasal verbs or expressions for the word keep. So keep company is to spend a lot of time with. Keep off is to not walk or step on something. Keep up with is to make or progress at the same rate as someone or something. Keep an eye on is to keep under careful observation. Keep still is to refrain from moving very much or at all. Keep fingers crossed to hope that nothing will happen to bring bad luck or to ruin one's plans. Keep promise is to fulfill or be faithful to a promise one has made. Keep to yourself, refuse to disclose or share something. Keep on is to continue, not quit. Keep in mind is to remember something. Let's look at the listening part. So the first one, let's do some discussion. You can do this with your friends in class. Do you know any stories of criminals being stopped by everyday people? Or do you think it's a good idea for people to try to stop a criminal? Why or why not? Now B, look at the pictures below. Then listen to a TV news broadcast about a crime and think what happened. So here you have 4 pictures. 1 is hold up, number 2 is DNA testing, number 3 is a car chase, and number 4 a crime scene investigation.
Listen. B. Look at the pictures below. Then listen to a TV news broadcast about a crime and tick what happened.
And now on to Tuesday's robbery at the Richmond Bank on Talbot Street. As we reported on Tuesday night, a bank robber entered the bank at 9:13 a.m. and demanded that the teller, a Miss Judy Parler, give him all the money. He got away with £34,000, but luckily nobody was hurt during the incident. Well, I say nobody, but actually the robber himself was attacked before he left the bank. And here you can see a video taken by a customer in the bank on his mobile. You may have already seen this because it's all over the internet at the moment. There's the bank robber entering the bank. He's wearing a mask, so you can't see his face. Now, can you see the little old lady by the door? Well, just keep your eye on her. After the hold-up, the bank robber takes the money and pauses to check the coast is clear. Then suddenly, bang! The old lady smashes him right in the face with her shopping bag. She almost knocks him over. She's shouting at him now, and he stumbles out of the bank and gets away. Well, that elderly hero's name is Hilda Moon, and she is on the line now. Hello, Mrs. Moon.
Hello.
Tell me, why did you risk your life at the bank?
Well, I saw that nobody else was doing anything, so I had no choice.
Weren't you scared?
Not really. I'm an old woman. He wouldn't attack me, would he?
And can I ask you, what was in the bag? I mean, you seemed to give the robber an almighty whack.
Well, I usually buy a fresh chicken from the butcher's on Tuesday morning, but I didn't have time that day, so I got a frozen one from the supermarket. But they're never as nice, are they?
I see. I'm sorry, Mrs. Moon, but we have a breaking news story and it concerns the bank robbery. Mike Gilbert is at the scene. Where are you, Mike?
Hi, Chris. Well, you're not going to believe this, but I'm outside a house on Waterford Road where police have just arrested the man who robbed the bank on Tuesday.
That's great. But how did they find him?
That's the amazing part. Police investigating the case found a tooth at the scene of the crime. They did DNA testing on the tooth and found its owner, a known criminal. His name is Fred Hitchin of 17 Waterford Road. Police searched his house and found the money.
That's remarkable. And it's all down to you, Mrs. Moon, and your frozen chicken.
That's lovely. But I don't think I'll be getting another frozen chicken. It didn't taste very good, and my husband complained that it...
C. Listen again and write T for true or F for false.
And now on to Tuesday's robbery at the Richmond Bank on Talbot Street. As we reported on Tuesday night, a bank robber entered the bank at 9:13 a.m. and demanded that the teller, a Miss Judy Parler, give him all the money. He got away with £34,000, but luckily nobody was hurt during the incident. Well, I say nobody, but actually the robber himself was attacked before he left the bank. And here you can see a video taken by a customer in the bank on his mobile. You may have already seen this because it's all over the internet at the moment. There's the bank robber entering the bank. He's wearing a mask, so you can't see his face. Now, can you see the little old lady by the door? Well, just keep your eye on her. After the hold-up, the bank robber takes the money and pauses to check the coast is clear. Then suddenly, bang! The old lady smashes him right in the face with her shopping bag. She almost knocks him over. She's shouting at him now, and he stumbles out of the bank and gets away. Well, that elderly hero's name is Hilda Moon, and she is on the line now. Hello, Mrs. Moon.
Hello.
Tell me, why did you risk your life at the bank?
Well, I saw that nobody else was doing anything, so I had no choice.
Weren't you scared?
Not really. I'm an old woman. He wouldn't attack me, would he?
And can I ask you, what was in the bag? I mean, you seem to give the robber an almighty whack.
Well, I usually buy a fresh chicken from the butcher's on Tuesday morning, but I didn't have time that day, so I got a frozen one from the supermarket. But they're never as nice, are they?
I see. I'm sorry, Mrs. Moon, but we have a breaking news story and it concerns the bank robbery. Mike Gilbert is at the scene. Where are you, Mike?
Hi, Chris. Well, you're not going to believe this, but I'm outside a house on Waterford Road where police have just arrested the man who robbed the bank on Tuesday.
That's great. But how did they find him?
That's the amazing part. Police investigating the case found a tooth at the scene of the crime. They did DNA testing on the tooth and found its owner, a known criminal. His name is Fred Hitchin of 17 Waterford Road. Police searched his house and found the money.
That's remarkable. And it's all down to you, Mrs. Moon, and your frozen chicken.
That's lovely. But I don't think I'll be getting another frozen chicken. It didn't taste very good, and my husband complained that it...
Let's look at the answers for exercise C. So you're supposed to listen again and write T for true or F for false. Let's look at number 1. Only the robber was hurt during the bank robbery. So answer is true. The TV channel was the first to show the video of the bank robbery. Answer is false. Number 3. The old woman attacked the robber after he had taken the money. So answer is true. Number 4. The old lady hit the bank robber with a frozen chicken. Answer is true. The police arrested the bank robber on Tuesday. Answer is false. The police found the money near the robber's house. Answer is false. For the next task, you will hear people talking in 5 different situations. For questions 1 to 5, you have to choose the picture which answers the question correctly. Okay, now let's look at the tips. Before you start, look at the 3 pictures carefully to get a general idea of what you're going to hear. Then, listen carefully and focus on the question. All 3 pictures may be referred to in the dialogue. However, only one of them correctly answers the question.
Listen. You will hear people talking in 5 different situations. For questions 1 to 5, choose the picture which answers the question correctly. 1.
So, Detective, have you got any idea who stole the painting?
As a matter of fact, I do.
So you think Mr. Jameson did it?
That's what I first thought, but no, it's someone else in the family.
Little Jenny? But she's too young to commit such a crime, surely.
You never know. But she wasn't in the building at the time.
But that just leaves Mrs. Jameson. Why would she steal from herself?
That's what I plan to find out.
2. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Fiona.
How did it go on Sunday?
It was fine. I raised a lot of money.
Weren't you scared up there?
A bit, yeah. The worst part was the water. It was freezing.
How did you get wet?
Well, we jumped off the bridge, and a few of us splashed into the water before we bounced back up again.
That sounds nasty.
Well, it was all for a good charity.
I suppose so. 3.
This is the life, eh? The great outdoors, a bit of adventure.
OK, can we go home now? Keep in mind it'll be dark soon.
Don't worry, we've got a torch.
I just don't want to be stuck out here after dark.
You're right. Give me the map then.
You've got it.
No, I haven't. It's in that bag with the water.
Are you sure? Let me check. It's not here.
Keep on looking.
It's not here, I tell you, and there's no torch either. How are we going to find our way home?
Don't panic. I think I know the way.
4.
This is the way to travel, eh?
Yes. Just look at that view.
Are we nearly there yet?
We've got about an hour and a half.
OK. I might have a little sleep. Whoa! What was that?
I think we hit something.
Yeah. It seems like we're slowing down.
Keep an eye on our stuff. I'm going to go outside on the deck and have a look.
Are you sure? Maybe we should stay in our seats.
Nobody said anything. I'll be careful. 5.
So, did you enjoy the film?
Yeah. I don't usually enjoy action films, but this one was something else.
Everything happened so fast. I couldn't keep up with the story.
You're right. And what about that car chase?
Yeah, that was a great way to start a film.
And the action continued all through the film.
I was expecting a big explosion when the plane crashed in the end. What happened there?
It crashed into the sea, I think.
And they got out right at the last second.
That was a bit unbelievable.
So what? It was good fun.
Now let's look at the answers. Number 1. Who does the detective think committed the crime? Answer is B. What did the man do for charity? Answer is B. What have the people got with them? Answer is B. Where are the people? Answer is A. What happened at the end of the film? Answer is C. Now this is the next lesson, which is writing. So here you're going to write a story. First, before that you can discuss what's the most dangerous situation you have ever been in. How do you feel? You can discuss these 2 questions with your friends in the class. Now let's look at the writing task. So you have to read the writing task and the story that follows and answer the questions. When it is possible, underline words or phrases in the story to justify your answers. An international magazine has organized a short story competition and you have decided to enter. The competition rules say that the story must end with the following words. They were lucky to be alive.
It was cold, dark, and quiet, for now. Terry and his brother Phil were sitting in the cabin shaking with fear. It had been Terry's idea to spend the new year in the mountains. However, it was turning out to be a very bad one. Surely it wouldn't be long before the 400-kilo beast would break into the cabin. Terry got up quietly and glanced outside. When he looked at Phil again, he was so terrified he could barely speak. He held up 2 fingers and whispered, "There are 2 of them." There was no hope left. 2 polar bears would easily find a way in. Suddenly, Terry had an idea. He searched through his bag and removed a small box. Phil immediately understood. Terry had some fireworks which he wanted to set off at midnight, but now was probably a better time. So, he lit one and threw it outside. They held their breath. A moment later, there were loud bangs and flashes of light, which scared the polar bears away. "They're gone," cried Phil. The boys were so relieved. The fireworks attracted some locals who took the boys to safety. They were lucky to be alive.
Now let's look at the question for number 1. Has the writer ended the story appropriately? So the answer is yes, he or she has, because the given sentence was used. So this is the given sentence. They were lucky to be alive. And then for question number 2, what tenses does the writer use throughout the story? You can write he or she, or the writer uses past tense. You can see here they are highlighted in yellow. So they are past simple such as was. Then you have the word glance, got up, looked, helped, whispered. And then you have search, understood, and there are others verbs. Okay, other verbs in past simple. And the writer also uses past continuous. For example, we have was sitting and was turning. For question 3, what words or what phrases does the writer use to link ideas? So the answer, the writer uses linking words or phrases expressing time. Here we have, they are highlighted in pink. So you have words such as, or linkers such as before, when, suddenly, so, a moment later. And then for the last question, why does the writer use direct speech in the story? So the answer is when you use direct speech, it makes the story more vivid. Now look at the table below and then read the story and circle the correct words or phrases. So you have linking words and phrases here. For time you have before, when, as soon as, while, as, during, after that, after a while, later, soon, then, at first, in the beginning, finally, by the time, at that moment, since, just as, in the meantime, till, until, immediately. Then we have a result, consequence, so that, such that, so, therefore, for this reason, as a consequence, as a result. Then we have cause, reason, because of. Then you have to add the noun and as. Emphasis, in fact, actually, as a matter of fact. So here for writing, you are supposed to look at the passage and choose the correct answers. So there are a few questions here, like number 1, we have 2 options, while, during. Number 2, as, because. Number 3, we have so, such. Number 4, as a result, because of. While, so. Number 6, in fact, for this reason. Number 7, just as, at the moment. Number 8, later, then. So you are supposed to choose the correct answers. Now let's look at the answers for this story. So remember that you're supposed to find the correct or suitable linking words. Hannah loves exploring places on her mountain bike. However, last month she had an experience she wants to forget. She was riding through the woods while the sun was going down. She was admiring the beautiful colors in the sky, and because of this, she didn't notice the deep hole in the ground and fell into it. But worst of all, her arm was caught between 2 rocks. They were so heavy that she couldn't move them. As a result, she couldn't get out of the hole. So she started calling for help, but there was no answer. In fact, there was nobody around for miles. Night came and Hannah was terrified, cold, and in a lot of pain. She was exhausted and decided to get some sleep. But just as she was closing her eyes, she heard a car nearby. Then an idea came to her. She reached her bike with her other arm, turned on the light, and moved it around. Fortunately, the driver of the car saw the light and came to see what it was. Hannah was saved. So now for the task. Read the writing task below and write a story. An international magazine has organized a short story competition and you have decided to enter. The competition rules say that the story must begin or end with the following words. Susan will never forget what happened that day. So let's look at the plan. When writing a story, narrate events according to the plan below. First, you have the introduction followed by the main parts where you have 2 to 3 paragraphs, and the last paragraph is the conclusion. So let's look at the first paragraph, which is the introduction. Here you have to describe the setting of the story, and then you have to include in the setting will be time, place, weather, and others. And then do introduce the main character or characters. And then for paragraph 2 and also paragraph 3, these are the main part. So you have to mention what happened, what the character or characters did, saw, heard, said, and others, and also how they felt. And then the last paragraph, which is paragraph 4, you can write the conclusion. Here, describe what happened in the end and make a short comment. When writing a story, always keep the given sentence in mind and plan your story around it. Do not change the given sentence. And number 2, use past tenses such as past simple, past continuous, past perfect. Use linking words or phrases. This is to indicate time and also the sequence of events, to express result, consequences, cause, reason, and also to give emphasis. You can say activity, the one that we did in C. And then remember to use direct speech. This is to make a situation seem real. Use questions or exclamation marks to make the story more exciting. Okay, then you can use expressions or phrases like, it was too good to be true. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was in or out of luck. Luckily or unluckily, it was a real shock. All of a sudden, suddenly, the next thing I knew, to my surprise, fortunately or unfortunately, without thinking, within minutes, I held my breath, or the last one is, there was no hope left. So you can use some of these expressions in your writing. Now let's look at the question again. You are supposed to write a story that begins or ends with Susan will never forget what happened that day. So remember that for paragraph 1, it will be the introduction. And then you have to write the setting here where you can write about time, the place, and also the weather. And then you can introduce the character or characters. And for paragraph 2 and paragraph 3, you can include the contents. So remember there must be incidents or events. For example, what you saw, what you heard or did, and then do include the feelings. And then the same for paragraph 3 where you can build up the story with more events or incidents. And then lastly, for the last paragraph, you have to write the conclusion. You can include the summary of the event or write about your comment. Now let's look at the first sample essay.
Susan will never forget what happened that day. Dark rain clouds were gathering in the sky. She was cycling as fast as she could to get home before the downpour. When she felt a few big drops on her head, she decided to head for a bus stop, about 100 meters away. As she was nearing the bus stop, Susan saw a lady rushing towards it from the opposite direction, tugging a little boy behind her. The little boy was finding it hard to keep up with her, so, finally, she just picked him up and carried him. Suddenly, a motorcycle roared past Susan, almost knocking her down. "Hey! Are you mad?" Susan shouted at the motorcyclist. He turned to look at her, and for a split second, she saw his face, cruel, glaring eyes and menacing expression. However, he just sped on. Then, Susan realized that he was heading right for the woman and little boy. "Watch out! Watch out!" Susan shouted. She saw the lady turn to look at the motorcyclist, dismay etched on her face. In an instant, the motorcyclist had reached the lady. He stretched out an arm and grabbed hold of her handbag, hitting her on the back at the same time. The impact sent the lady hurtling forward. The mother and child fell on the road, landing right in the path of a van. "Stop! Stop!" Susan screamed at the van driver, waving her arms wildly in the air. Thankfully, the driver had seen what was happening. With a squeal of brakes, the van stopped a few meters from the spot where the mother and child lay sprawled on the road. Susan saw the lady crawling on the road towards the wailing child. There was blood all over them. Tossing her bicycle to the side of the road, she ran to help them. By the time she got there, the van driver had reached them. He was cradling the child and examining his limbs. "I think your little boy is all right. Nothing is broken," he said. "How about you? Do you feel pain anywhere? Please help me." "I am pregnant," the lady replied, weeping. "Don't panic. You'll be all right. I'll take you and your son to hospital," said the man. The lady could not walk, so the man carried her and settled her in his van. Susan carried the whimpering child to the van. The man asked her to go along with them so that she could help make the police report. Susan realized that, by this time, the motorcyclist would have gone far from that spot, with the lady's handbag. A few days later, Susan was told that the lady had suffered only minor injuries from the incident. She had some rather deep cuts on her face and limbs, and her knee was twisted. Thankfully, her unborn baby was unharmed. The snatch thief was never apprehended and Susan doubts that she will ever see him again. However, she will never forget the menacing look he had given her.
Next is sample essay number 2.
It was one of those days, humid and sweltering. Susan looked behind her. There were dark menacing-looking clouds and a stillness that preceded a storm. She looked at the swirling leaves on the roads and in the gutters and quickened my step home. Rain fell in big fat drops. When she ran into the house, the wind was rattling the window frames and battering the roof. As she hastened to close the windows, Susan shivered at the sound of the howling wind. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. She jumped with fright as the front window panes were shattered. Rain lashed in. She quickly pushed the furniture next to the window to the other corner of the room. Across the street, Susan saw rain coming down like a great sheet and flinging itself upon the town. She stood dumbstruck and looked out at the street. Water was rising so fast and poured out of the drains into the street. Cars broke down and stalled, and, honking and hooting went on without stopping. A massive traffic jam would build up in just minutes. Before she could close her ears to the ceaseless noise, there came a great din. The giant tree in front of her house had snapped. Another flash of lightning showed the angsana trees by the side of the street were uprooted. She was speechless with terror. Susan raced upstairs to her room. It was in the nick of time. Thunder roared and lightning flashed and there was an outage. Oh no! She wailed as she huddled under the blanket in total darkness, trembling with fear and cold, and waited for her parents to get home. Susan always had a horror of storms, and this one showed nature's wrath. As abruptly as it began, the freak storm ended. Susan crept out of bed and looked out of the window. The sight left her as shattered as the landscape. Branches and tree trunks were scattered to the left and right of the streets. There were giant craters where the trees were wrenched whole from the sidewalks. The whole scene reminded Susan of one of those disaster movies. It would take all of the residents forever to clear the streets, the debris, and the trees. It had been a most frightening experience. Susan will never forget what happened that day.
Dear pupils, we have reached the end of our lesson for today. Thank you for watching this video, and do remember to subscribe to my channel. I'm Madam Gan, signing off. See you again in another English language lesson. Bye!